What is going on, Jet fans? Matt O'Leary back with another episode here of Just Jets, episode 243. We have a lot to get into. It's always busy times for the New York Jets. We got fallout from their tough loss to the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football. We also have Davante Adams trade. Want to get into what the restructure is, what that means for his future with the New York Jets. And then something that I noticed in the Buffalo game that is getting glossed over a little bit, and of course your voicemails. But again, just wanted to start by talking about the Davante Adams trade and something that he did, which was restructure with the New York Jets and how that actually helps them out. So my reaction to the Davante Adams trade came yesterday. I was very pleased with the Jets going out and getting Davante Adams. I think it helps them and makes them a better football team. And I would like to see the Jets win football games. I'm tired of watching the Jets lose on Sunday, Mondays, and Thursdays. I'm sure you are as well. And again, I'm not saying that Davante Adams, I said it yesterday too, that he's going to fix every single issue with the New York Jets. That's not exactly fair. But what I do think it does is it makes life easier for the Jets offensively. And let's be honest, they've had wide receiver struggles outside of Garrett Wilson. Wilson's hitting his stride now. But you had still have Allen Lazard and his drop problems. He's first in the league in drop rate over the last 2 years. And Mike Williams came up empty in a gigantic spot with the game on the line, biggest play of the game, runs the wrong route and falls down. So I get the frustration there, and I think Davante Adams absolutely helps that. But what this restructure does for the New York Jets is it gives them more wiggle room for this year. So currently the cap hit is at $11.5 million, assuming the restructure is going to lower that number for this year. I think what they should do now, and I tweeted it out, and it might be controversial to some because of how they feel on this guy, but I think they need to bring in Hassan Reddick now. And easier said than done. Reddick's, I don't know what his deal is with this holdout. It's one of the more bizarre things that we've seen. But in this game that we saw on Monday night, one of the more obvious things that we noticed was this team still needs a pass rusher. Outside of Will McDonald, you got to give the guy credit. I know nobody wanted to draft him, a year ago, but the guy's come in and produced in year 2. 7 sacks through the first 6 games. He's done every single thing that you could ask of him in a pass rush role. Unfortunately, you look at the other side of the field and it's just not good enough. The Jets are getting no juice whatsoever. And adding an Hassan Reddick, or even if the Jets can't figure it out with Hassan Reddick, then they need to be proactive in getting different edge rusher in here because they can't keep running the same thing out there and expect anything to change. It's really as simple as that. And again, the Davante coming here is one thing. Restructuring and the Jets having wiggle room to do something else, I think, is the important note here because it can't be understated. The Jets need to do more with that defensive line. Not good enough as currently constructed. And yeah, you need Quinnen Williams to be better. You need Javon Kinlaw to be better as well. They're not getting a pass here. But we'll get into it in a second, but the Jets are getting absolutely zero from that other edge spot. And it's a big problem. They were unable to bring down Josh Allen last night, and I get it. He's very elusive. That's what he does. He extends plays. That's why he's so good. That's why he's, probably the second best quarterback in the NFL for that reason. And that reason, is being a very big thing and why the Bills are so successful. But it's not an excuse. You have to be able to get home. And the Jets did not have someone who could get home with any sort of consistency. Will McDonald made the one play when Reddick ends up, where Josh Allen ends up fumbling and they fall on it. The Bills, maintain possession there. But they need to add that. Because if they don't, I don't know how this defense is gonna take that next step to what we need from them. Let's get into the second part here in the monologue before I get into the meat and potatoes of this episode, which you guys know is the voicemails. But this kind of leads into the next topic that I wanted to get into, which is, unfortunately, Joe Douglas' mistakes were very much so on display last night. Now, I've stated before that I like Joe Douglas. I think he's done more good than bad with the Jets, but most Jet fans, there we go. Most Jet fans don't put any blame on Joe Douglas. And when things go wrong that I think he deserves blame for, I want to point it out, because we pointed out all of Robert Saleh's flaws. There were many. The coaching staff, the quarterback play over the years, everyone gets blame, and there's blame to go around here. But there's 5 things or 5 decisions that Joe Douglas made that bit him in the ass in this game. I mean, 1, he signs Tyron Smith in free agency, which, he was applauded for. But Tyron Smith has looked nothing like the guy that he was with the Dallas Cowboys. Has not looked like the same player at 33 years old. The last 3 weeks in particular have been excruciatingly bad. He's getting worked by A.J. Epinesa. I mean, come on. I'm not saying you got to be all pro Tyron Smith, but you got to be at least functional left tackle. And the Jets didn't get that. They had some good pass pro the first 3 weeks of the year, and then the last 3, it's been a night and day difference. You make the splash for agency signing, doesn't look good or didn't look good in this last game. Mike Williams had a massive mistake in this game. Your free agent wide receiver addition to make to this club. You talked about it at the top of the show. His mistake, did not run the right route. Has now been a part of the back-to-back games. The ball was going his way, and it results in an interception, and not on the same page with the quarterback. Ran the wrong route. Not good. Not good. And now on the trade block, Javon Kinlaw, another free agent addition, had 3 penalties on 1 drive. That's undisciplined. When we talk about undisciplined football, that's a good example of it. What Javon Kinlaw did on that 1 drive. Unacceptable, inexcusable. We talked about the no pass rush outside of Will McDonald. The guy he traded for isn't here. They were trying to replace Bryce Huff's production with Hassan Reddick, and Hassan Reddick hasn't showed up through 6 games. That's not all on Joe Douglas. As I've mentioned, Hassan Reddick's holdout has been incredibly dumb. And I don't know what the plan here is. But this isn't 100% on Hassan Reddick. Joe Douglas and the rest of the NFL knew that Hassan Reddick needed a new deal or was looking for a new contract. That's why the Eagles traded him in the first place. And that's also why there's a stipulation in this trade that if the Jets trade him to the NFC, that 3rd round pick in 2026 turns into a 2nd round pick. So that limits half the teams you could potentially trade him to if it doesn't work out and you're trying to move him before the trade deadline. Oh, and also the run defense stinks. And what they've done is they thought that Michael Clemens would be able to fill in the John Frank Lundmeyer's role, and it has not worked. Again, was on display last night. That's supposed to be his strength. Michael Clemens' strength is supposed to be against the run, and on the last play of the game, he absolutely loses contain and loses the edge, can't set the edge, and Josh Allen runs for a 1st down. He loses a foot race with Josh Allen. This is simple stuff. That's why they struggle against the run. It's not just Michael Clemens. This team has an issue with losing containment. They over pursue and they don't tackle well. And that leads to big plays in the run game. And that's exactly what happened in this game. So yeah, there's, the players are to blame. Coaching staff's to blame. There's blame to go around, but I don't get when you have people who are so ready to go. Yeah, Joe Douglas is going to pick the next head coach for sure. Can the guy make the playoffs first before he gets an extension? That's all I'm saying. This is a huge year for this team and Joe Douglas. They already pulled the plug on Robert Saleh. They did it after 5 games. And you had Woody Johnson, saying this is the best roster I've had in 25 years. If that's the case, They need to be, we need to see the results. That's basically the main point that I wanted to see, is we could talk up the roster and how much it's changed since 2021 to now, which it has, right? Or really 2019 when he got here, but I was just looking at the Robert Saleh era, right? But it's more than enough time. What other team is holding on to a GM for 6+ years with no playoffs? That's why that's the hard line that I'm drawing in the sand. And I know that some don't want to do it. Some want to say, well, there's nuance and there's context to everything. And sure, there is. I'm not denying that. But I'm having a really hard time coming to grips with the idea of if things don't go right, if the Jets can't get this thing in gear, they don't make the playoffs, they're just going to go, oh, all right, well, Joe's going to hire the next guy, and then we're going to try it again and give him an extension. So that's going to buy him, what, another 3 years? They have to make the playoffs. That's why he made that move yesterday. That's why he traded for Davante Adams. That's why he should be trying to hash things out with Hassan Reddick so that they could actually put their best version of this roster on the field and have a chance to win these games. They've lost 3 one-possession games in a row. 3. They gave up 10 points and lost to the Denver Broncos. The week after that, you give up 17. There's a pick 6, so it's really, 23, as we know. But defense allows 17 points. And then this week, defense takes a step back. They had a better second half, only 3 points in the second half, allowed 23 points in the game. But they don't win because of self-inflicted effing wounds and major and guys who were a big part of that loss were handpicked players in free agency by Joe Douglas. He deserves blame for that loss on Monday this past week. And I'm happy that he was aggressive and landed Davante Adams. I'm glad that Woody Johnson forked over the money for it. But I'm not giving any more excuses. This team has to be a playoff team at the end of the year. And they have a big hole to climb out of at 2-4. Let's go to the voicemails. We're going to go out to Kansas first. Let's get it started.
Matt O'Leary.
What's up, man?
Man, it's Alex Robson calling from Kansas. The more things change, the more they stay the same. 1 week, the offense isn't there, but the defense plays lights out. The next week, the offense looks good. The defense shits the bed. Sorry to use the big curse word, but that's just how I'm feeling at this point. Another week, both sides look good, but we can't get out of our own way with the penalties. And with this one, offense looked good, not great, but good, competent, we'll say that. Defense, spotty in the first half, solid in the second half. But this damn Greg Zuerlein misses 2 kicks, and once again, we can't get out of our own way with stupid penalties. I mean, what more is there to say, man? It's funny that I really don't I just feel numb at this point. Like, I've just grown to just accept this feeling that this is just the way things are with this organization. It's just no matter how right we think we got it, we're still the New York Jets. I know everybody's going to be coming in and saying, oh, stop saying this. It's not the same old Jets. It is. Let's all just get real here. We have a 40-year-old quarterback who can only do so much. A group of receivers that, aside from Garrett Wilson, are only half competent. 2 running backs who look solid this week, but next week maybe have 50 yards total. Offensive line that on paper is supposed to be this great unit, but they're not good. Half of them are washed. Elijah Vera Tucker's been hurt so many times he's barely been on the field. He's mediocre. Joe Tippmann, a couple big penalties on him. Hell, John Simpson's the only one that's half decent, it feels like. Jeff Ulbrich, loved the guy, but it was no different than with Robert Saleh. We still were penalized out the wazoo. It's pathetic. This organization's pathetic. This team's pathetic. And once again, feels like the only answer is to blow it all up and try again here in the next 10 years after we lose a bunch more games. I'm just done with this team, man. I can't do it anymore. Maybe you can shine some light in the darkness, but I just don't see a way out of this mess that we're in. As always, though, go Jets.
It's hard. It's really hard for me to come on after a big loss like that and be like, yeah, everything's going to be fine. They're 2-4. Everything's going to be fine. They got to figure it out. I don't know. Eventually, as I said in the monologue, eventually you got to start. The wins have to come before we anoint this team and this roster. A lot of the same issues bit them. Penalties. There were 11 penalties for both teams in this game, which is an insane number. I thought the officiating was horrible. I'm not saying the Jets lost because of the officiating. They didn't. They lost because they made mistake after mistake after mistake. But on both sides, the Rodgers roughing the passer was not roughing the passer. You mentioned the Joe Tippmann penalty. On the final drive, he got hit with a holding. That I don't think was a holding, man. I think that was a quick flag, and I don't know why. The referee was really far away who threw it. Borderline. Like, these things change games. It's so frustrating that this just continues to happen, man. The offensive line hasn't been good enough. They did a lot and made a lot of changes. Elijah Vera Tucker's back, which you're excited about, and he's playing guard. John Simpson was brought in. He's been doing all right. I think him and Joe Tippmann and John Simpson have actually been maybe the brightest spots on this offensive line, but AVT's underwhelmed. Morgan Moses hasn't been good, and he got hurt. And Tyron Smith's been a big disappointment. I don't know. I find myself just saying, what do you do? How do you fix this? And I find myself not having a very good answer, unfortunately. Jake from New Jersey.
Hey, what's up, Matt? This is Jake from Jersey.
What's up, dude?
Calling in, honestly, right after this Bills game. Third game in a row, one-score game, literally one-play game. It's pathetic. But I just want to say I hope that I wake up to news of Greg Sirloin getting cut. If I was as bad at my job as he was this year, I don't think I would have one. It's honestly ridiculous, man. I understand the wind. I get it. But, I mean, come on. That's your job, you know? Any one of those would have kept us in the game. Both of them would have, we would have had a lead right there. It's so ridiculous. We lose by one score every game. Honestly, I mean, the refs were out of control, but
awful.
You can't make this up. I'm defeated, honestly. I don't care if Rodgers retires after this year. I'm fucking done. I can't. This is it. I'm sure everyone's the same way right now. This is just ridiculous, but guess we'll see what happens next week, man. Go Jets.
I said this game against Buffalo was a must-win. If you go, what do we call the game against the Steelers then? They can't go 2-5. There's no coming back from. There's no spin zone. 3-4, you might be able to convince yourself in a spin zone. Oh, New England after get to 500. But they have to find a way to beat Russell Wilson, who's projected to make his first start as a Steeler. But I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't at all. I'm not crazy confident about this game. How could you be after the performance they put out the last 3 weeks? And that defense? TJ Watt might hit Aaron Rodgers 20 times by himself in this game. Rodgers has gotten banged up the last few weeks because he's got hit a lot. How are they going to stop TJ Watt in that defense? That's what I want to know. The offensive line needs to wake the F up if they want to have any shot to beat Pittsburgh. Let's go to Caden Smith.
Hey, Matt. Caden Smith calling from upstate New York.
How are you?
About an hour after the Bills-Jets game just ended, and I don't even know what to say anymore, man. It's sad to say, but at the end of the game, I just got to the point where I didn't even care. Just how many penalties there were. I had the feeling towards the end that the Jets were going to lose with all the penalties, but I just got to the point where it's sad enough that I just didn't even care because I was getting so sick of the penalties. Sadly enough, I mean, yeah, there were some bad calls by the refs, but I'm not even that mad at them. Maybe just both teams should actually play fucking better football and not make it so damn sloppy. Like, actually play well. Literally hold or have DPI on every single play. It's disgusting. I will say, listening to Albrecht's press conference after it, he took it way better than Salah. Like, I don't feel like he made any excuses like Salah always used to do. But I'd love to see some accountability for Albrecht. Bench Kinlaw, he did not play well. He hasn't really played well all season. Maybe consider bringing in competition for Zerline because Greg is not
awful.
like his normal
Awful.
self. And I mean, Tyron Smith, man, he got beat like a freaking drum tonight. That Vanessa, just like so many plays where he just did not get a good launch. And just, in that play, the toss to Breeze, he just whiffed on Douglas. Just so many damn missed opportunities. And we had a chance. The offense overall looked good. Lazard was good. Wilson was good. Breeze was back to being typical Breeze. And we can't cash in the red zone. 4 trips down there and only 1 touchdown. It's freaking pathetic. And then the 2 missed field goals by Greg. There's 3 ways where we lost the game. 1, the holding call from Tyron that would have been a touchdown for Braylon. 2, the missed field goals that would have won us the game. And then 3, basically all the penalties that probably could have ended us getting us points scored. It's freaking sickening, man. All I ever wanted is to enjoy a game, and that there's no real major penalties where you can just watch it, enjoy it, and then know that more than likely your team's going to the playoffs. And I don't feel like we're ever going to get that. And it's just so freaking sickening, man. I'm just so damn tired of it. And somehow I just keep going on with this team, but I'm just so done with it. There needs to be some major accountability changes. That's what Albrecht and the team talked about so much this week. Well, I hope to see them implement it in the lineup. So thanks for taking my call, and go Jets.
I'm glad you mentioned Zerline. Jake did too, but we'll get to it now. He's kicking at 66.7%. He's missed 4 field goals on 12 attempts. And big ones. I'm not going to. You guys can if you want. I'm not blaming the bad weather against Denver, 50 yards in the rain. I won't do that one. But last night, we're talking about 32 yards, dude. 32 yards. He was horrible. And in the preseason, there were signs. Austin Seibert was the better kicker in the preseason. Everyone saw it. Anyone who went to training camp or watched the preseason games could see it. And now he's been automatic in Washington. And, now you're stuck with a 37-year-old kicker who looks done. He hit at 92.1%, the second best margin for his career. He was automatic pretty much last year. 8-8 from 20 to 29, 9-10 from 30 to 39, 13-14 from 40 to 49, and 5-6 from 50 plus. That's unreal numbers. Even his first year with the Jets, he hit at 81.1%. Missed a lot of 50 plus yarders, but hey, 50 plus. But 40 to 49 was 9 of 11. He was 10-10 from 30 to 39 and 5 of 5 from 20 to 29. And I honestly, I forgot to mention this as well. One of the extra points. Are we convinced that Greg Zuerlein actually made that extra point? Maybe it was just the camera angle they showed on TV from behind view. Well, that didn't look good. That didn't look like a good field goal. I said, oh, he missed it. And then I was surprised that they raised their arms up and said it was good. And I didn't see a ton on it on Twitter. I guess there were so many other blatant, horrible mistakes from the officiating that one gets kind of glossed under the table. But the Jets have a kicking problem. It's cost them in 2 games. If you're supposed to be a good team, you can't have that. And last night, it completely changes everything. And you're not asking him for 50 plus yards in that condition. They're asking him for 32. That's a chip shot. And also they're partially to blame because they did it to themselves too. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone. That's not good enough either. God, is it frustrating, man. It really is. Let's go to PG from Long Island.
Hello, Matt O'Leary. PG from Long Island here. Monday night after this 3rd horrible loss in a row. Very disappointed, obviously. Missed last week because I called in prior to the news of Salah being fired, and understandably that was the headline. Listen, hate to see a guy lose his job. Didn't think he did a good job. And after the mulligan last year, he was on a short leash. So I understand, credit Woody for doing what he did. But obviously it doesn't seem to matter. The penalties this week, the whole thing. Maybe it's not the coaching. Maybe coaching has some part of it, but let me ask you this. Do you think this roster is overrated? Johnson called it one of his top teams ever that he's had since he's been the owner, but is it really? Defensive line seems to be a little shaky. Offensive line seems to be shaky. Besides Garrett Wilson, who's also had a shaky start, but played a couple of good games. Receiver's not great. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just, the talent's just overrated. And I agree with you. Joe Douglas has done some very good things, some good draft picks, some good trades, but he's also done some bad things. And, everyone's saying, oh, they're going to keep Hubert or you're going to keep Joe Douglas. You don't know at this point. But I'll agree with you on this thing, that if we don't make the playoffs, then Joe Douglas is probably out of here as well. Until they, pick the restart button. But again, my question to you really is the same question I asked in the beginning: is this roster overrated? Love your thoughts on that. Anyway, Matt O'Leary. Still only 6 games in now. Still a chance. Schedule does get weaker at points. Maybe we make a run to the playoffs and put it together. As always, go Jets.
Yeah, I hope they do. And you know what? On your question, maybe they are a little bit overrated at some spots. I mean, I don't think the defensive line has been good enough. I don't think the offensive line's been good enough. I don't think wide receiver's been good enough. I don't think the tight end play's been good enough. I do think in the logic, or just from looking at the black and white of Woody Johnson's comments, this is the best roster he's had in the 25 years he's been here. That would imply that they'd actually have the best record, right? But that would actually be in 2010 when they were 11-6. And I know we make a lot of comparisons from that team to this team, and there are areas where the Jets are better in. But that team won games. And I know that, like, coaching and context and injuries, like, so many things matter in this conversation. But at the end of the day, if you're not winning games on the field, I just get really tired of the conversation just always being brought back to, the roster's so drastically improved over the time, that Joe Douglas has taken over. And while that's true, and they should be a good team, for whatever reason, it's not working. And he's the guy who makes the head of the football decisions. And I think he has to be accountable for that. And I think that's all we're doing here, is just saying, like, yes, the coaching, yes, there's so many other things that also needs to be ironed out, but he's not blame-free in this equation. At least not for me. Let's keep it rolling. We're going out next to South Carolina.
Hey, Matt. Jonathan from South Carolina.
What's up, dude?
I'm calling about the Bills game. On my way to the gym this morning because I'm not letting the team ruin my mood anymore. I'm going to get up and get after my day. But, yeah, man, those uniforms last night did their job. That loss felt nostalgic. Classic Jets football. Just can't get out of our own way. I mean, obviously, a touchdown call back from Tyron Smith, holding. It was just awful all night, daydreaming, holding, just stupid decisions. There were stupid mistakes. Greg Zerloin, who I defended after he missed that, one field goal against New England that fans were, really upset about. And then, obviously, has now costed essentially 2 games, although it's hard to blame him for the Denver game kicking 50-yarder in the rain. But, I mean, this game is solely on his shoulders, I would assume. I mean, he makes one of those kicks. It's a different game. But, both kickers struggled, I guess. Just, man, you told me, week 6 it is? We're 2-4? Week 6 that the season was going to be essentially over, I wouldn't have believed you. It's a real tough pill to swallow, and it's still early. We can turn it around. We can win 8 of the next 11 games because the rest of our schedule's semi-easy, I would say. But we're the Jets, so easy doesn't mean anything. Yeah, man, just really disappointing. The team is both teams last night had 200-plus yards of penalties total, so it wasn't just us, but it's a lot, man. It's just a lot of shooting ourselves in the foot week after week after week, and great teams who win Super Bowls and make big playoff runs don't do that.
Yep.
And we can have all the players in the world that we want, but if they can't get out of their own way, we might as well just, play the 17 games and take the off season to get prepared for next year. It just doesn't look any different to me. But that's what the life of a Jets fan is. Well, go Jets. Hopefully a better result next Sunday. I think we play the Steelers. Their defense is solid. Their offense sucks. So if we can score 15 points, I think we win that game. But that's a big if. All right, man. Go Jets. Bye.
Yeah, it's I couldn't have said it any better. I think you absolutely nailed it when you talked about, you could have all the players, but good teams don't shoot themselves in the foot. Ain't that the truth? You nailed it, dude. Absolutely nailed it. This is a very talented team. And I'm going to say something, and it's going to piss me off too, because they've heard it for 3 years. They got to learn how to win. And they still haven't figured that out. That's what we've heard from Robert Salas from 2022. Oh, we're a young team, got to learn how to win. 2023, all same thing. Got to learn how to win. Now, you got the vets. It's a vet-heavy team now in 2024. I don't know the excuses, man. I don't get it. I really don't. This can't just continue to happen, man. It just can't continue to happen. 15 points might be enough against the Steelers, but I'll say this. The Steelers are like the polar opposite of the Jets in this sense. They struggle to score points, but they win ugly every single week. They find ways to win games they have no shot winning. And you know what? Coaching has a big freaking part of it. Mike Tomlin gets a lot of shit because he goes 9-8 every single year, it seems like, right? Those teams stink for so long. Ever since Roethlisberger's been gone, or really Roethlisberger's last year even, he did not look good. And every year they're finishing over 500. They're making playoff runs. Mason Rudolph starting playoff games for them. It matters. Coaching really matters in this sport, and culture, and just, I don't know. There's just something about being a good team, and that's not what the Jets are right now. Next is Vic from Florida.
Matt, Vic from Florida. Hey, man, Tuesday morning here. Another rough one. 3 in a row. 3 games that we're going to look back here at the end of the season and say, wish we would have had that. I don't want to. I'm not making excuses. Again, like I said in previous times, played football at a pretty high level, coached high school football. You can't. What I've been told my whole entire life, you cannot leave it up to the referees. Yes, the referees sucked. I mean, every time you turned around, the umpires on the big screen. It was a ref show last night. We know that. Okay, the refs suck. Okay, that's been the norm here for the last couple of years. That cannot be an excuse anymore. All right? It was so undisciplined. Yes, all the penalties. It looks like my North Jersey fans will like this one. It looks like a West Milford versus Sparta Pee Wee football game, how undisciplined it was. All the penalties and everything. But, again, we cannot have that as an excuse. We do not finish drives. That's it, period. We do not know how to finish, right? I mean, Aaron's throwing for 300 yards. Brees, man, I tell you. The second he went down that sideline, why he didn't just put his foot in the ground and make a nice cut. I tell you, Taylor Rapp is an all-pro. He has to be. I mean, that guy is an MVP. He was the best player on the field yesterday. He used the sideline as his friend. He went inside out, and he tackled Brees and saved the game pretty much. And he made a big play against Garrett in the end zone. I mean, we got to find ways to finish drives. I'm not here to say about moral victories because I hate those, right? Offense looked better today, but we cannot finish drives. What's going on with that, Matt? Like, what are we going to do this week, to prepare for the Steelers, who are just as good as the Bills, right? We can't leave it up to Greg DeLay. Greg's been awful since the preseason. Ulbrich wants to say he backs them. Yeah, that's coach talk 100%. But I'd be looking for anybody. Take the kid off college game day, for gosh sakes, instead of Zerloin. I mean, that can't happen.
Nope.
That cannot happen. I don't want to hear about the wind either. Right? Either way, again, it looks like Garrett and Aaron has finally found their rhythm. Mike Williams is a bum. I don't know, man. I hope we make some moves here. I hope we find a way to get Davante in the building and find a way to get Reddick in the building. We need them both. Defensively, we couldn't stop a nosebleed, man. That was Swiss cheese. That was bad. Either way, man, I appreciate you taking our call. All right?
Thank you.
I feel like you and I have like my father and another friend that's my only jet resources here, so I appreciate you.
Of course.
Hearing me vent. Anyways, let's try and turn it around because it's not early anymore.
I could not agree more, Vic. I really can't. You're halfway home, right? The Davante Adams trade goes through a little after he called in. He called in yes, or whenever. I'm recording this on Tuesday morning before the Davante Adams trade. But it's the truth. They're halfway home, and they do need Hassan Reddick. And the pushback is Hassan Reddick going to stop the run? You know that's coming. I'll get myself fired up over it because I know that it's coming. He's going to take the bad player who is starting on the defensive line off the field. The one who is billed as the run-stop specialist who is not good against the run. It's addition by subtraction. So yeah, I think it'll help. I think it'll help a little bit. Even though I knocked my mic flag off. I'm getting so fired up over here. Thanks for calling in, Vic. Thanks for venting your frustrations. This helps me too. And look, I know I'm not like going crazy in depth long with some of these answers here, but it's good to hear the other people vent for me because I like to see where other people's perspective is on it. And like sometimes I think after these games, like, am I crazy? Like, am I the one who's overreacting or underreacting to something? And then most of the time, you guys are in line with me. Let's go to Neil in Jersey City.
Hey, what's up, Matt? This is Neil from Jersey City. Coming off of the Bills loss, obviously just frustrating. And that's the constant refrain with this team. Just so sick and tired of seeing it. The undisciplined. And granted, we know, the refs were throwing a ton of flags for both sides that were phantom calls. Rogers talked about that in the postgame. But, I mean, my God, it seems like no matter who is at the helm, this team is always undisciplined. And they just get guys. They bring guys in like Tyron Smith, perennial Pro Bowler, and he looks bad, just plain bad. I just feel like no matter what levers they pull, they're just not good. It's never good enough. It doesn't work out. Now I just got news. The news just broke that Davante Adams was traded over. And you know what? It's a week too late. And I have so many mixed emotions on Joe Douglas, but I just think it's a week too late. You're 2-4 now. You're going to Pittsburgh. And really, I think this is just a typical desperation move that the Jets will, trade for a superstar or maybe a dying superstar. Who knows? But, they'll make this trade. It's splashing on the surface, but it's not really going to do anything. I'm just really frustrated with this team and how they approach things. I don't see Davante making as big of an impact as everyone or the media seems to think it will. And I hope I'm wrong, but that's my thought. Go Jets.
Yeah, Neil, I get where you're coming from. That it might be too late now at 2-4. I don't know if he would have been able to play this week if they traded for him a week ago. If he would have been cleared with the injury, if it's a real injury. I know, and I will be the first one to tell you, Davante Adams is not, what he was in his prime. But even still, Davante's a top 15 wide receiver in football, an elite, even at 31, elite route runner. And I think it's going to help Garrett Wilson get better too. That's another big reason why I'm a fan of the trade. I know, and I get the too little, too late. I'm not blaming you for that take at all. I think it's valid if you feel that way. But I think it's going to help, and I know that it's a long shot now that you're 2-4, but I want to see this team make the playoffs. It's been a long time, and they're putting their chips to the table, and their last chip that they should put to the table or push to the center of the table is bringing they brought Davante Adams in, but bringing Hassan Reddick in too. Dom from Long Island.
Hi, Matt. This is Dom from Long Island. I want to ask you, what needs to happen for this team to make it? And by make it, I mean, not just make it to the playoffs, because I'm not sure for a playoff team. I hope so, but, make it to the playoffs, but make it to the next level, because I'm not really sure what the benchmark of this team is. Like we beat the Patriots and the Titans, not two great teams, and we competed with the Bills. Are the Bills a good team? I like Josh Allen. He's a good player, and the team hasn't been too great. So we'll see where we are in there, but just make it to the next level, I guess. But I feel like we're close, and I thought we're really close, and really, really close. I thought play calling looked better at times, and I hope we could build on that. So yeah, what else do we need to reach kind of the next step? And why do you think we're not doing those things? Davante Adams helps, and I'm super, super excited about that. So yeah, sometimes I just hate this team,
I get it.
You're sad about losing and then trade news, and so that's really fun. But yeah, so now I'm happy. But yeah, so yeah, Davante Adams, that's really cool. Go Jets, thanks for all you do. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Dom. You know what they got to do? And I know that, and I'm not glossing over your question by saying this, so I hope that this doesn't come off the wrong way. They got to stop doing dumb shit. That's why that's why they can't get over the hump and win these games. They are doing dumb things over and over and over again, and they can't change it no matter who's playing quarterback, who's coaching the team, who's on the offensive line, who they just traded for. None of that seems to matter right now, that doesn't make any logical sense. But the Jets, the last 3 weeks, have not made sense with how they've lost these games. 3 one-score game losses in a row. They lost by 6 to Minnesota, lost by 1 to Denver, and 2 nights ago they lost to the Buffalo Bills by 3. 10 points in 3 games. That was the margin of error. I don't know. So, I wish I had a better answer for you, but they got to stop doing dumb things. Travis!
Hey, Matt!
What's up, buddy?
Travis from Ohio. Hey, buddy. They just announced a trade, and we got Davante Adams. It's a little bit of salt constant, but at least we got that instead of I would have rather had the win last night. So was just listening to Coach Tomlin's press conference. So here's some boots on the ground stuff from Ohio, right outside of Pittsburgh. He said that he really praised Will McDonald and said that him and Herbert were his favorite 2 pass rushers in that draft, which is kind of crazy because they traded up for Broderick Jones when they could have had Will, because that was the infamous, pick swap. So, anywho, he said that Todd Downing is there's not enough tape on him, so he's worried about that as far as what Aaron Rodgers can do and all the weapons. But I thought that was interesting. And he said that he's going to name a starter close to game time at quarterback between Fields and Russ Wilson.
It feels like it's going to be Wilson, right?
Anywho, have a great rest of the week, brother. Love you. Bye.
Thank you for the inside info, Travis, from very close to on the scene. Broderick Jones has been horrible, so that's a slight win, right? The Jets lost out on Broderick Jones, and Will McDonald ended up being the pick, and Will McDonald's been really good for them this year. That's a slight win. Broderick Jones has stunk. Will McDonald's been really good. I think it's going to end up being Russell Wilson starting. That's where it feels like it's leaning right now, which would be interesting. Because Justin Fields, they're 4-2, and not that he's played great, but you'd think they just, we're going to ride the hot hand. No, they're going to go to Russell Wilson now that he's ready. Jets have handled Russell Wilson well the last 2 years. I hope they play him, and I hope that remains the exact same thing this year when they play him. And hopefully the Jets get a much-needed win. Peter from Hudson Valley's next. Let's close it out with Peter.
Hey, Matt. It's Peter calling from up in the beautiful Hudson Valley on this Tuesday afternoon. So Seems like everything has to break on Tuesdays with this team. After the Davante Adams trade, I was out and busy all day, and I didn't see it until the Jets actually sent a notification to my phone, and I'm like, oh, yes, we get Adams. Nice. As the saying goes from the Godfather series, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. So use this or use the rant that I had from late last night, whichever works for you. But I think Adams certainly will help the offense out. It puts someone on the same page with Rodgers. That should certainly help things out a lot going forward. Of course, my biggest gripe is that our current number 17 is probably going to be giving up that number. Now will be inactive for a good number of weeks.
Forever.
Until either there's an injury or the rumors, of maybe Mike Williams being traded away happen or something else happen. So I don't think we'll see Corley on the field much at all, and that's a bummer. Because he's another weapon that they really utilize in this offense. But, like I said last night, you only get 17 chances, Davante Adams' number, to win ball games. And they've blown 3 straight now. Had he been there before the Vikings game, or even maybe before the Denver game for sure, could have changed a couple of outcomes. And they might be, have 4 wins in this particular case. So I hope they get the run defense fixed, because that's certainly still a problem even with Mikey Fotu. I hope this helps the offense out a lot, but whether Reddick stays or goes, they still need another pass rusher. And we'll see how it goes. My biggest question before this was going to be, is this really going to move the needle for the Jets? I think it does. I just don't think it moves it a lot. But let's hope for the better. And as always, go Jets.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling in. While you were talking, I was pulling up the numbers from last night. They allowed 33 carries, 149 yards, 4.5 yards per attempt, and a touchdown. Josh Allen, 19 of 25, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 127.9 rating. He also ran one in. It was the Josh Allen show. Scored 3 touchdowns, ran 1, threw 2. The run defense was not good enough, and there's still more work to be done. This doesn't fix everything. That's the main point. Davante Adams doesn't fix everything. Makes them better, and I hope that results in more wins down the line for this team. Because, looking at it, the Jets, if the season were to end today, the Jets would have the 7th pick in the draft. I don't want to spend the rest of this year, we're not even to freaking Halloween yet, looking at the draft order and thinking about losses. So I hope to God they win on Sunday. I hope they get to 3-4 and give me, even if it's copium, a little bit of hope. Because at 2-5, all bets are off. That would be about all she wrote. And I'm not ready for that. I'm not. I don't want to do another season of that. Did it in 19, 20, 21, 22, unfortunately. 23. I don't want to do it again. So please win. That's my message to the Jets. Please win on Sunday. Give us something to root for. That'll do it for me in this one. Thank you guys for tuning in. I am Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.